Hello, everyone. Here we are again for another Mavens Do It Better podcast, where we interview extraordinary experts who bring a light to our world. And we definitely have a wonderful person on today who I've known for a while, and we've been trying to get scheduled for a bit. So, Chevonna Gaylor, hello. How are you?
Hi, so happy to be here. And I'm so glad we're finally able to make this happen.
I know.
Yes.
Absolutely. Me as well. So, where are you coming to us today from?
Today, I am in my office. I call myself not your average therapist, and therapy is my gift. So, my office is my happy place. This is where the magic happens.
That's awesome. Yep, I'm a typical HQ right now in Marina Del Rey, California. You're California as well, yeah.
Yes, Southern California as well.
Yeah.
Yes, in near Temecula area. So
Okay.
about an hour east of LA and about an hour north of San Diego.
Right, that is right. Yeah, Temecula. Isn't that sort of Temecula's kind of wine country as well, too, right?
Yes, Temecula is wine country. I'm not in Temecula, but most people don't know where Canyon Lake is.
Oh.
So I say Temecula so that they have because I'm about 10, 15 minutes away from Temecula, just so that they have an idea of where.
Yeah, right. Gotcha. So, yeah. So gosh, and we met through a few mutual friends actually, with Luthra Lish, of course, wonderful Luthra, who you do a lot of work with, actually. Yeah.
Yes. My work with Eleuthera, she is the executive director of Soteria, which provides safe spaces and intervention, early intervention and prevention for sexual assault, and just create safety in non-traditional settings. Yep. So she is the executive director of that, and I am the clinical director. So we collaborate on some amazing projects, like offering safe spaces at Coachella and Stagecoach, and we recently did a research project kind of working with those this year at Mardi Gras to look at potentially establishing safe spaces in the future. So just definitely large scale, non-traditional settings of being able to provide that emotional safety.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I've been in the background with Soteria for a while with other threads, like looking through things, of course. So, yeah. So
I mean, you know that for sure. Yes. I know you're very.
No, totally. It's been fun watching what you two are doing and the rest of the team as well. So I've always been like, ooh, this is, it's great to see how things kind of keep evolving. And I bet so, because Mardi Gras, gosh, right in the middle of sort of the beginnings of our pandemic that we're in the middle of, I bet that was interesting on like a gazillion levels, having been there during that. Yeah.
It was fascinating, especially because it definitely personally impacted us. Yeah. So Eleuthera and I stayed together in the hotel there, and she had just come from Seattle. So we stayed together for about 3 or 4 days. I was not very familiar with the pandemic and what was going on. Right. So we were all over the place. We were in we worked with fire department. We worked with emergency responders. We went to the sober tanks. We were in the middle of, we worked with Red Cross. So we were definitely behind the scenes with the FBI and really kind of collaborating in safety settings, and not fully aware of the dynamics. Right. And then when we went back, Eleuthera was ill. Yeah. And so what we found was that she said, she called me and it was almost humorous. They asked her, so have you been in close contact with anyone else? Because you may have contracted it before you even went to New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
And she said, no, just my husband. And then she thought about it and she said, wait, I was in bed with Chevonna. And they were like, wait, what?
Who? Huh? Yeah.
Wait, what? So wait, let me explain.
Right. Wow, that's funny. Yeah, I know. I share bed, hotel rooms with my girlfriends and people I work with all the time. And we, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't even think about it. You're like, yeah, that's, of course, we're saving money and that's what we do.
It just sounded like a weird thing to say. I was in bed with Chevonna and then, so maybe.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, and I went to a fairly large gathering that first weekend in March, and in Joshua Tree with a friend's birthday, and yeah, it was interesting. I don't think any of us like for sure, and I don't know how many people have gotten tested to see if they had it or not, but people flew in from all over, and it was one of those before we all kind of knew what was happening,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's and now we're in not so good times around all of that spread. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What I've been thinking about, and I was kind of a quote that that's just been on my spirit lately, is that I just typed it out yesterday because it just was it was running through my head, and I was like, I have to get this out. Is
Yeah.
that the world is rocking. The world is rocking, and there's no way for us to not be swayed, because
Yeah.
the entire world is rocking. If we're alive in this time, we're going to be swayed. But
Yep.
it's important that we have to be actually intentional about making sure that we don't fall.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, sometimes you gotta put your
Yes.
head out, get steady with some friends and some family,
Yes.
and
Yes. Hold on to somebody or something else that can be your rock to kind of hold you up, because
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that
Mhm.
metaphor a lot because it's wiggly. I mean, the
Mhm.
world's always
Mhm.
moving and stuff, but right now it just I don't know. I'm sure you're probably talking about that kind of stuff and what you do,
Yes.
with your therapy and everything too. I mean, this is a time there's noise and trauma and so
Yes.
are you super busy right now? I would assume you are.
Extraordinarily
Yeah.
so. My practice is fuller than it's ever been.
Wow.
But additionally, 2 nights a week, I work at out of a hospital emergency room as a psychiatric liaison. And
Wow.
so, if someone were to come into the emergency room for a medical issue, obviously, but what they find in assessing them is that their medical issue had any kind of emotional or psychiatric foundation, then what the psychiatric liaison does is goes in and assesses what's going to be the appropriate kind of discharge or disposition plan. So
Got
we
it.
do a thorough psychiatric evaluation, and then we collaborate with the doctors, the nurses, the entire team to figure out, okay, so now once they're medically cleared, what should
Ah,
happen? And so there's been a significant increase in suicide attempts over this time because of the fact that people are struggling. They're
yeah.
struggling. They don't have their standard coping skills, their coping mechanisms. A lot of job loss, relationship loss, that isolation has been increased drug and alcohol use. All of that has kind of played into a lot of people that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I want to circle back. Where are you from originally? I don't know if
LA.
you are.
I'm an
Oh,
LA girl.
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay. Maybe I did know that, but okay. Have you been other places for like school or anything like that?
I did. I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Undergrad, I went to UCLA. And then for grad school, my husband and I had the opportunity to go to Illinois. And so we took the kids there. He worked for Trader Joe's. He
Mm,
was promoting with Trader Joe's as they were expanding to the Midwest and the East Coast.
okay.
So he helped kind of start that expansion in the Midwest, and we moved there, and I got my master's there, and he moved up in the ranks and became a manager at the Trader Joe's in the Midwest, and we raised our kids there for about 6.5, 7 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes,
Cool. Where were you in Illinois?
the northwest suburbs of Chicago. So a little town called Arlington Heights.
No way.
Yes.
I went to high school in Wheaton.
No way.
Uh-huh.
No way. I went to
Yeah.
grad school in Schaumburg.
Oh, get out of town. My dad used to run the Schaumburg J.C. Penney. He was the manager of
No
the J.C. Penney in Schaumburg.
way.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yes. So most people don't look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
I love the Midwest. I
Yeah.
feel like the people I met there were so much more authentic.
Mm,
Like what we realize is it was family. When you meet people in Los Angeles, it's
mm,
very surface, I
mm.
find.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
It can be.
very surface.
Mm,
Yeah, but the people we met in Illinois are their family, and we still have relationships.
yeah.
It was beautiful. That it
Yeah.
was a beautiful experience.
That's so funny. Yeah. I was like, where? I was like, yeah. I'm divorced, but my extended family from my divorce, they live in Arlington Heights. Funnily enough.
Wow.
So I've been to Arlington Heights many, many times. So yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it's but yeah, Illinois. my dad worked at JCPenney's and was a manager, and so every time he got promoted, we got moved. And so we were in Michigan, Indiana, and then Illinois, and I got to go to high school all 4 years in Wheaton. So that was a big deal. Then I went to a year of Illinois State University and then popped out west to Seattle to finish up at UW. So
wow. So is Seattle, is that where you met Eleuthera?
You know, we met, yes and no. We met later. We have a mutual friend, Julia Francis, actually. And that's kind of how we met. But funnily enough, Eleuthera, like, lived in Sebastopol. I've lived in Sebastopol. Like, there were just all these like weird, funny, like, I did theater in Seattle. She went to Cornish. Like, yeah. So it was one of those destiny, like at some point we're going to intersect, and we finally did. And then working on Into Action and We Rise with everybody, you know, getting to know the whole crew down here too was super cool. So yeah, that's.
Are you in? You're in LA. You said you're in like the LA area right now, right?
Yeah. I live in Marina Del Rey. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I'm over here on the west side. So it's been. I love it down here. I lived in Seattle for 10 years and then Sebastopol up in North Bay. So, but yeah, I really like LA. But I got a lot of family and friends up in Seattle too. So, yeah, that's cool. And you've been you were in you got your MBA and you were raising kids. And then what brought you back to California?
Well, I got my master's in Illinois. I started practicing there and raising kids right as I was getting ready to graduate, because we had 3 children.
Okay.
And so right as I was getting ready to graduate, I unexpectedly expected our 4th blessing.
Oh, okay.
Yes, right before grad school, right before the end of grad school. So we were like, okay, all right. So I graduated and I started my career, and of course he's, you know, opening stores in Lake Zurich and Palatine, and just opening all these stores in the Chicago area. And it came down to us needing to be parents and build a career at the same time. So if someone wasn't feeling well, and I'm like, well, I'm building a career, and he's like, well, I'm the breadwinner. So we're like, who takes off? We had we didn't have any family. We had some friends, but how much can you impose on those friends that feel like family before they become estranged associate?
Like, no and no, right. Yeah.
So we're like, I think we need some family. With 4 kids and two very ambitious parents, I think we need family support, and it made us decide to come back. And then it's interesting because we didn't come back to Los Angeles because we were thinking, you've been in Arlington Heights. Our little suburbanites would have had complete shock, and we go to Los Angeles. So we came back to another small town, Canyon Lake. Our parents had some retirement property there, and we came back to their house in Canyon Lake, and we've been there.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. Arlington Heights to sort of like LA would definitely be a bit of a jolt. That is for sure.
Traumatic.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And with your practice, will you tell our listeners a little bit about your practice and what you do as well?
Sure. Well, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And as I said, therapy is my gift. Really, I feel like it's my calling. And so it's my honor to serve others. And in that honor, I kind of had to find my niche, or it found me, because people with the most hurt were led to me. For whatever reason, I've been able to hold space with them and partner with them towards their healing. So I work with individuals. It could be a 4-year-old who needs play therapy due to grief, or an adult who's just trying to find their way in life, or a young adult or male, relationships, communication, self-esteem. But I even work with like severe trauma. I partner with some organizations that support human trafficking eradication. So I treat the human trafficking survivors, as well as working with the staff on how to deal with that vicarious trauma of working with the survivors as well.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that I think some people don't always realize that it's like, as a first line worker, or I don't even know what you want to call it, but maybe you have better words than I do, but just when you're of service, right?
Yes, when you're in
Yeah,
the thick of it.
right. In the mix, right? That, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
as a therapist or a doctor or a nurse or whatever, it's not just like I go do my job and I'm not affected by it, right? So it's
Yes.
like
Yes.
it's self-care, I think, to, and how do you deal with that and let go of that kind of stuff? So that's the kind of thing you're doing with people like that, right? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, because you have to have a process to release it. Because
Yeah.
if you don't take that time to nurture your own soul and you're not whole, then you're going and trying to support someone else while you're fully wounded.
Yeah.
And it's not as effective. It's not
Right.
as effective because you're seeing through the lens of your wound. You're
Right.
seeing through the lens of your own pain instead of being able to fully connect with what that person needs.
Yeah, it's almost like that, the in relationships where you like, I don't know, I like the 20-minute to half hour sort of transition between sort of work and
Hmm.
not work, you know, like,
Yes, 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 yes,
you know, like,
yes.
I think
And
that's
I like that you said that because I even do that in therapy.
mm,
Um, I may dig into something heavy and then we jump out and maybe have
right,
humor and then we
right,
dig in deep and then we
mhm,
jump out. But I think
yeah,
having that heaviness is it's just too much for any human being to just stay. One of the women that I work with that has some significant trauma, she calls it leaning in. She'll say,
mm,
you know what, sometimes I'll lean a little bit into my grief, but then sometimes I can't lean in. So I'll tell her, hey, we're gonna lean in a little bit, and then I
right,
promise we'll lean out. So we have to
mhm,
be able to lean out.
yeah, for sure, yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't know, I think right now, I mean, to me, life is a big roller coaster and a puzzle anyway,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you're, wah! And sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, hanging on with one hand. And, you know, other times you got
Yes.
both hands on. And I don't know, like, I just feel like people right now in general are just, you know, one, tired and,
Mhm.
and,
Mhm.
and also just too much. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to focus between COVID
Mhm.
and George Floyd and everything that's been, you know, all this stuff. And I'm like,
Yes.
well, you know what? Like, one thing,
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
one thing
Yes.
focus. I don't know. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is heavy. Like I said, the world is rocking,
Mm,
and trying to figure out. Really, the goal is to try to find what we do with that emotion.
yeah.
Once we feel it, okay, so I need some purpose. I can't just sit and stew in it.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of trainings on the impact of the global health pandemic, as well as what I call this global awakening,
Yeah.
this
Right.
justice awakening.
Mhm.
It's heavy, but it's also a huge opportunity.
Yep.
And so, but what we are finding is that anxiety, depression, and PTSD. People who already struggle with those things.
Mhm.
So anxiety, they already have their baseline is worrisome thoughts, right?
Mhm.
Depression,
Mhm.
baseline is sad thoughts. PTSD, of course, there's been some kind of trauma.
Right.
So people who are already in those categories or struggle with that, it's getting by being inundated with everything that's going on in the world, those can be worse. Those symptoms
Right.
can be worse.
Sure.
But the thing that's powerful now is people who never struggled with anxiety, depression, or even like trauma triggers are
Mhm.
now experiencing it for the first time. And they're
Yeah.
like, whoa, what is this? I've never had heart palpitations. I've never had a panic attack. What
Right.
is this? This is new. And
Yeah.
so it's unfamiliar, and
Mhm.
giving yourself permission to know that if the world has changed around you, it's going to eventually change you. So
Mm.
just like we said, the world is rocking. We're going to sway. Don't let yourself fall. Realize it's okay to rock. Don't be mad at yourself for swaying. Like, what's wrong with me? Why am I rocking back and forth? The world is rocking and you're
Right.
on the earth. It's gonna affect you. It's okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. I I know my everybody not take it down a notch, but just give yourself a break maybe, you know, a little
Mhm.
bit.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yep, I'm seeing that a lot with a lot of friends and people that are just like, whoo, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
how do you, like, so you probably do a lot of that for yourself, right? Of like sort of that I need to, like, so I can have my family and
Yes.
my husband and all of those things, you know, and do that separation for yourself. Yeah.
I have to. I have
Yeah.
to. The other, a couple weeks ago, I think it was just 2 weeks ago, I was feeling, I've been working 70 to 80 hours a week between my
Mhm.
practice being completely full, the hospital job.
Right.
training contracts and contracts with other, I have about 3 or 4 other contracts with other organizations.
Right.
Just, I was feeling heavy. Like
Mhm.
I was feeling, so I like, what do I need? I had to assess myself. Chevonna, what do you need? I needed the ocean and I needed my family. So I contacted, now my children are adults. I only have one that's not an adult.
Okay.
But I texted everybody in the family and said, weekend, beach house, vacation, we're going. And I just found an Airbnb on the beach.
Yep.
I booked it for 2 days and, well, 3 days and 2 nights. And I reserved it and said, I'll be there. I hope you guys all can come on out.
Yeah.
I need ocean, I need air, and I need you.
Mhm.
And so it was just an impromptu family getaway, and it was so good for my soul. I don't know. I assume it was good for their souls too, but I'm being selfish here. I needed that.
Yeah, yeah. I read, and does it relate to the blog post you wrote about the cups?
Oh, yes.
I read
Yes,
that. I
yes.
thought that was cool. Will you tell everybody about that? And we'll make sure I'm put that in the show notes.
Ooh,
I loved
ooh,
it.
about the cups, my 3 cups.
Yeah,
Oh
your
my
cups
goodness. Now
and
you're,
love languages, and I love the
and
love
oh, you're
languages.
you're yes, my love, one of the most powerful things that I did learn about is love languages. And I didn't learn that until well into my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Well into my marriage. And so for those who are not familiar with the concept of love languages, the belief is that there are 5 primary love languages that we speak.
Yep.
And it that when we speak that language is the way we not only give, we receive and give love. So, for example, the 5 proposed love languages are words of affirmation, which is just telling someone you care about them. Acts of service is doing something for someone. Gifts, it could be as small as a small treat or as big as a diamond ring.
Mm-hmm.
Quality time and physical touch. And physical touch is not necessarily, it can be non-sexual touch, hugs, cuddles, just physical touch. So
Yep.
my love language, what I learned after about 7 years of marriage when I discovered this theory, is that my love language is words of affirmation. I scored very high on that. Words of affirmation and physical touch. I'm cuddly. Big hugger.
I was like,
Now,
yeah.
yes, my husband's, he scored lowest on words of affirmation.
Ah.
And so what he realizes that he loves to show his love. And so what I realize is a lot of times that maybe he'd be wanting to show me and gifts. So he'd be wanting to show me his love through gifts or through doing stuff for me. And I'd be looking for that compliment, like, tell me I'm pretty, or that the dress looks good, or my butt looks good in these jeans, or, and he's like, but I washed your car, and I brought you coffee. And so we learned that. And for the life of me, I never knew the gifts mattered to him. We had been together. We had kids. We had been together all these years. And when I saw that, I said, I think this must be wrong. He said, no, when you and the kids are gone all day, and maybe I was at work all day, and you come home and say, hey, I know you really like these potato chips, and I bought you these chips while we were at the store because I thought about you. He's like, that really matters to me. I'm like, chips? Or he's like, really?
Totally, right?
I do for you, and you care about a Snickers or a chips?
Right.
That matters to me. That was groundbreaking.
Yep.
That was for our relationship.
Yeah, I think I've discovered it too not so long ago, and it's for husbands and wives and partners of or whatever like, but I think like it's like having your mom do it is super interesting too, like anybody in your family, because it applies. And if you can figure that, I've heard of families doing those things and they're all like, I had no idea that you were like, but it makes sense. Don't you think that people do, like you were saying, they do what they want? Like they do to others what they want done to them, I guess, as far as.
The example is for my daughter. She is not emotionally expressive at all. And when I actually discovered that they had it for adolescents was around the time, she's now 25, but it was around the time she was a middle schooler. And I was like, either she hates me or like, it was really a tough time in our relationship. I was grasping for straws. Please, Lord, I need something. Show me what to do, right?
Right.
And so I had her take it And because I would always text her these long, flowy messages.
Okay.
Like, that was when cell phones were new, and she had a razor. She had a pink flip phone razor, and she was in middle school. Yes, and she was it. And I would text her these messages about how I love her and she's my angel, but she's my only girl, and I just believe in her, and how I feel like she's beautiful and all this stuff. And I get back, okay. Yes.
Yup. You're
okay.
What? Okay.
Yes. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
So all right. But when she took the survey, she, like, almost 90% was acts of service. And I realized that almost every morning, my daughter, because everybody knows that I start my day with a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. Almost every morning, she would make me like a slice of toast and a cup of coffee. And she wouldn't make a big deal out of it. She'd say, Mama made your coffee, or Mama, I got your stuff out of the car for you because I know you were tired. Right. She just would always do little considerate things for me. Right. And I thought that she didn't care about me because she wasn't sending me back flowy, lovey, emotional, mushy texts. But she had been showing me her love for me, and that was so powerful for me. I mean, it really brought tears to my eyes, because I'm like, she's been telling me she loves me all the time. Right. And then I realized, okay, I haven't been telling her I love her in the way she would receive it. Because she may have been thinking like, dang, she never does anything nice or considerate for me. She's just always telling me how pretty I am. Right. Or how smart and powerful I am.
Yeah, right.
She's like, I don't care about that.
Right. That's so funny. Yeah, no, I loved your article about that, because I definitely relate to that. And the cups too. Can we talk about the cups part?
The love cups. Yes. I had to refresh my memory because I wrote that a long time ago.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, yes.
I was popping around. I was like, and I think it was the love languages that sort of caught my eye. And then I was like, oh, I want to read the rest of that. So yeah.
So I talked about the spiritual cup, the interpersonal cup, and then the personal cup. So the spiritual cup, I'm going to actually read, if you don't mind, if I read the quote from there. Okay, so the spiritual cup is that agape love. So for me, my faith is my primary source of strength. So I give out so much of myself that I have to make sure that I'm filling my spiritual cup to stay grounded, to stay effective. To stay effective, to be able to give. So I achieve that through kind of prayer and meditation, scripture, listening to music, and that kind of gets my cup full to be able to give out and to pour out to others. But then there's the interpersonal cup, by love from my family and friends. I have to have that. I have to be connected to those people that I love, whether it's my husband, or whether it's my my kids, or my girlfriends, my sisterhood. It means the most to me. The saddest thing in the world that I ever hear people, one of the saddest things, is when I hear women say, I don't have girlfriends. I don't have that. I don't get along with other women. I'm like, girl.
Yeah.
Do you know what you are missing? Something about a sisterhood bond that can feed your soul in a way that no other relationship can.
Yep. Agreed.
Man.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that. Where it's like, I only get along with men, or, or whatever. And it's like, huh? Yeah.
Exactly.
I think people are missing out for sure if they're not cultivating those relationships. I mean, and if we don't, we get that where we're fighting against each other, that base, like, I'm jealous of you. You're, like the chemicals in our body that are like, we try to get the best sperm.
Do you have a core sisterhood that you are connected to?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I do. Yeah. And that happened, I would say, for me a little bit later in my life. Like, I always had a core set of friends. And also, I don't have children. And so I think the other thing for me going through my life was that when people went off and had kids, my ex-husband and I, we kind of had friends that were either single, or it was gay couples, or, it was like, it wasn't the people who went off to have children, so that was sort of an interesting friend group that happened for a while, like when we were younger, when everybody was babies. And then, but then my core group, I think like after college is when for me, that really started that connection of sisterhood for sure. Yeah.
And what you're mentioning is really powerful. I'm glad you mentioned that with the interpersonal cup, because our circles do change. And mind you, even though it does make me sad to hear people say, oh, I don't have girlfriends, it is important to recognize that not everybody's meant to be in every season of your life.
Yes. Agreed.
I heard a quote recently. I did a training with Pepperdine, and it was me. I co-presented with two other speakers, and one of the other speakers said, not everybody is well or healed enough to be in the front seat of your car.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And so it made me think about the fact that it's not that that person is bad or you wish them ill intent, but some people are not well enough. And I thought about it, okay, there has to be a level of wellness and mutual support and love, and for them to be in the front seat of your car. And then there are some people who are just in your life. You know, I don't know about you, but I have some family members, they're still in the car. I mean, they're there. They might be in the trunk or the back.
It's like they're in the way back.
They're in the way back. They're in the car. I haven't decided to kick them out of the vehicle yet.
Yeah.
They're in the car.
Yeah.
But they're not well enough to be in the front seat, and that's okay. I can still love them, but there's some people who have just had to get out. Like, it's okay. They just have had to get out of the vehicle because my car is going in a certain direction, and maybe they didn't want to go that way. They weren't kind of on that path. So like, hey, let me let you out so you can get to your particular destination, and I love you.
Yeah. I think that is an amazing analogy. I've never heard that before. I think that's so cool. Well, and it's also like, you know what? When you're in the car, you want to share the load of the driving and the responsibility and all that stuff. And when somebody is sleeping or, you know, every other thing that maybe you don't want while you're on your road trip, you know, like that's hard too, you know. And it's like, and I don't know, people get mad sometimes. They're like, well, I'm not important to you anymore, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's not that. It's just that, you know, sometimes it's distant. Sometimes it's, you know, you don't live next to each other or whatever, you know, just things change. Yeah. It is interesting about who's in the front seat and who's in the other. I like that a lot.
Yes. And I didn't even think about the perspective of they have to be well enough to be in the front seat, because you will share the load. You will go back and forth. Oh gosh, look at that. We could write a whole book around that statement. I need to get her name and number. Need to get her information so I can quote her.
Totally.
Make sure I give her credit. But I have a whole lot that I can write around that. Not everybody is well or healed enough to be in the front seat of your car.
Yeah, or you're a navigator, you know. So, that's so interesting. Yeah. I had someone also say to me, who's actually a tarot card reader, and he said to me, he was like, you know, you're probably like in a lot of people's first ring of a phone call if something goes down. You probably are too, you know, like clients, family, but also extended because of what you do for a living, right? And so he said to me, he was like, you know, he was like, maybe you need to give pause and know who your inner ring is for your like immediate responses, you know, like your folks, your honey, or blah, 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 whatever, and then out. And maybe you don't necessarily have to be the first person of all of these people, that because when they don't get a hold of you, they will try number 2, number 3, number 4. And maybe that's okay.
Yes. That is really important, being able to consecrate that time. And what helped me to realize that was, what I found is when I would pour out so much to other people, the people who were closest to me, who were in the front seat of my car, weren't getting the best of me. And I realized I had to save the best for them. I had to save the good stuff for them. They deserve the good stuff. Yes, they deserve the good stuff. Like even something as simple as sometimes the way we would talk to, like my pastor said something in a sermon, and he was talking about how we will talk to others better than we'll talk to our family. And I was thinking, if I'm out in public and I need somebody to hand me something or throw something away, I may say, hey, could you please throw that away for me? But if I'm talking to my kids, it's like, hey, throw this away. And I thought about it like, whoa, why am I treating other people with more kindness and respect than I treat the people who are closest to me? And that really shifted my energy, and it let me realize they deserve my best.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, there's I don't know what something I said. It was like where a mom's on the phone and she's like, "Hi, Judy. Yes, of course. And, and of course I'll bring that pie and blah 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 blah." And she hangs up the phone and she's like I said, God damn it, and blah, 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 blah. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
you know, it's like that.
And it's true. But that doesn't, mind you, I have failed in that department many times. I specialize in working with adolescents, but each of my kids during that adolescent phase, I was not the best mom to them. And I tell people all the time, it's so funny when people come in, I say, look, especially because I'm in a community that's relatively small, and like Arlington Heights was like 0.1% African American, and I was me and my kids. Me, my husband, and my kids. We were the 0.1%.
Yep.
Canyon Lake is similar, right? And so people know if they come in and do therapy with me, they know that there's some cute little brown faces around that have the last name Gaylor, which is not common, and they may belong to me. It's very likely that they belong to me. And I tell them, do not judge me. Do not judge me by my children. They're amazing, but just because I am a therapist doesn't mean I'm perfect. Right. Doesn't mean I'm a perfect parent. Doesn't mean I'm a perfect partner. Doesn't mean I'm a perfect person. Don't expect that just because I offer healing to other people and emotional support to other people that I don't have meltdowns myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to get it right, and whatever right means. Words like normal and right kind of bug me, but like, you know, just trying to be your best, I guess.
Yes, trying to be our best, trying to grow, trying to be our best, trying to be the best friend, trying to be the best person. And goes to the personal cup, like that self-love, because I love travel and adventure. I love being able to read a good book. I love, you know, what fills your personal cup? What do you love to do? Like, what makes you just feel your best personally?
I think the travel definitely has been one in my life. I love writing. I love doing this, to be honest, talking to people, sharing stories. But I love a good book too. I really love reading and learning. And then I collect art museums. I would have had if I would have taken more time in school, I would have done an art minor. I love art. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So those kinds
That's awesome.
And getting outside, for sure.
When can you tell, like, when is your radar, when does your alarm go off that lets you know that I'm not, at least one of these cups is feeling kind of empty? What's your telltale sign, or some of your telltale signs?
I think when I get angry about like wanting to exercise or something, you know what I mean? Like I know things that are good for me, and then I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like it. And then I'm like, well, you're acting like that. That's actually what you need to be doing.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah. I'm like, when I get angry about certain things, I tend to write about them instead of just make it into a learning moment, you know. But I've read a lot of books that, like, going through a divorce and moving to a new city, and I've done a lot of wonderful reading, you know, about sort of things that I wish I would have read eons ago. Like there's a Codependence No More, I think is a really
that is a great one.
Great book.
I recommend it all the time.
Yeah, that was a enlightening book for me, and I have the journal. There's a daily journal, and I really like that, and I kind of use it over and over again, and I write in it sort of over time and stuff. But that, I think, because I think everybody's got a little bit of codependent and a little bit of narcissist in them, depending, and we have that sort of scale, right? And sometimes it flips depending on who you're with. So that kind of, to me, was a big sort of breakthrough of like, and taking care of myself. I'm very high energy, and I put myself last, and I know that, and I think that's affected my relationships. If you aren't taking care of yourself, it's RuPaul, right? If you aren't going to love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? You know? Because
you become a martyr and you become resentful.
Yeah. And I just that in other people, I just, you know, I don't like that either. You know, it's like when you don't take care of yourself, whether it's by working too much or, you know, like, and it's like, I watch other folks and dealing with addictions, you know, with it's not just having an addiction, but it's dealing with somebody that has one.
Yes.
You know? Like it's a lot. And, you know, I see parents or friends or whatever that tear their hair out of their head because they're like, I love this person, I'm trying to help, but I don't know what to do, and it's exhausting. So, yeah, but yeah, so I don't know. I think I try to identify the cups and and I like talking about things, you know. I'm very, very verbal that way. And also I try to ask inquisitive questions as like a manager of people, like how, not just how are you feeling, but like on like trying to do like a scale of 1 to 5.
Yes.
Like how you feeling?
Yes.
Can we do it that way? Because I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm sure that insight comes in handy with leading teams for sure. The
Yeah.
communication styles and the insight and all of that is very valuable for leading a team and makes them feel like they can trust you because they feel connected and heard.
Yeah, I try. I mean, I think, I don't know, you get to a certain age too. I don't know, maybe you find this, that I feel like there's like, I dropped in kind of in my 40s, you know, in a different way than I was in my 30s. You know, it's kind of like, it's all about me and all this stuff. And I'm kind of like, yeah, it's about me, but it's about me raising other people up and bringing people along, because I've been helped along the way. And I keep going, oh my God, am I really 48? When did that happen? You know, you know, and you're the adult in the room, I guess, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, 40s was that when I passed that threshold, that was actually exciting for me because I realized that although I had significantly changed, obviously, I was more confident in my 40s than I was in my 20s because I was just comfortable with more comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
You know, and I just stopped caring as much about other people's opinions. And that was so liberating in my 40s. That was the biggest transition in my 40s.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. For me too. Yeah, it's like I didn't. It's that you still care about some, but I feel like some of that imposter syndrome and some of that other stuff kind of goes away. You know, especially, you know, depending on what you feel is success. You know, for yourself. But yeah, no, I guess one of for your job, like, is it? I mean, is for you, it's about having, you know, just having a good number of clients. You do so many things is what I'm trying to get to. It's like, and that feeds you, I would imagine, in different ways. Yeah.
It does. Every role feeds me in different ways. And when I was in grad school, in undergrad and grad school, I looked at all my textbooks. And every single psychology textbook was based on the theory of an older white male. Every theory, every image. And I said, there's emotional healing that needs to happen for the entire world, but that's not reflected or represented in these books. And I was absolutely determined to change that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so by changing that, the way to change that is just to walk in my purpose. And I literally put myself out there in every capacity that I can. If there is a way for me to go and face forward and make a change, I do. And sometimes when I'm tired and I want to give up, actually the other people who are watching me, I had someone call me about an opportunity, and I was in the car with my youngest, my 15-year-old. And I was just feeling already overwhelmed. It was supposed to be my off day, and I was on a business call.
Right. Yep.
And he happened to be in the car on my off day, and I'm taking care of business. And the person was telling me, hey, I've really been talking you up, and I think there's some great opportunities that are going to come down the pipeline for you. I'm really excited to collaborate with you on some projects. And when we hung up, I just almost started to tear up. And I was like, I don't think I can take on, although that sounds so exciting. You know, my son was like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't have space for any more projects. I don't think I have any more to give.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he checked me immediately. He said, Mom, you always say that you want to be the absolute best, that you want to be the greatest, and that you want to do the most. You think that you can do that by saying you're tired, or that you don't want to, or you don't have more room, or you can't do anymore? He's like, you got to figure out how to make it work. Like, if you want to be the best, then you got to be willing to do the work. And I was
you're like, well, I did something right there, by the way. Okay.
Like, all right. But what about you? I'm your mom. He's like, I'm 15. Like, all right. Like, if opportunities arise, you got to do the work.
Yeah.
He starts giving me the speech. Do you think Oprah said she can't take another series on or another part on or another project? You think Oprah? I'm like, Oprah has a team.
Yeah. I love it. Oh yeah, I know. When people throw like Oprah or Beyonce at you, you're like, okay, they have a few people helping them, by the way, but that's
Exactly.
all right.
They have staff and publicists and team. They're not going home to clean toilets after speaking.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay. But the point is there, though, right?
Yeah, I get it. I got it. I felt supported. I felt like it wouldn't be taken from him.
Yeah.
To take to walk in that purpose. And yeah, so it does fuel me, it feeds me, it makes me feel like I'm making an impact. Yeah, absolutely. But it can feel overwhelming. I'm the president of our local chapter of the statewide California Marriage and Family Therapists. We have local chapters, and this year I'm serving in the chapter, and being emotionally heavy, being definitely the racial minority, and having to lead a team of other clinicians that sometimes struggle with understanding inequality and inequity and injustice and the impact, especially because of in this area limited exposure. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, I was supposed to kind of lead my team, and we had to have our board meeting, and everything in me, I didn't want to. Yeah. I didn't want to be the leader. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to be the Black leader with the burden of making sure that everybody is aware of the fight of the Black people in the world, especially in a clinical perspective. I didn't want to. Right. But I realized that this is what I prayed for, to be able to have an impact and make a change from a leadership perspective. Yep. Yeah. So how can I make an impact and then not want to do it? I think you're allowed to have both feelings. You know what I mean? Yes. To have those feelings and still just keep pushing, to be able to feel like, I don't want to, but I know I got to and I'm called to. So let me see what I need to do to fuel myself to do it. Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for doing it, one. And because it is, in conversations and reading and, some of it for me, like, and I say it from a place of, I'm sitting in a really nice apartment, I have a great job and all of that, and where I was dropped into the world with the privilege I have, but I also see people and sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to talk to you unless you've gone to read these 3 books and watched a couple of movies about this, because I can't have this conversation with you. It's exhausting. It's exhausting, but then the change can't come without conversation. Yeah, without conversation, without connection, without, the change can't come without that. And sometimes it feels like a heavy task. I want to say burden, but not necessarily a burden. Mm-hmm. I remember when we were in Illinois, right? Uh-huh. We were there and in Arlington Heights, and one of my first jobs was they had an after school program. Uh-huh. And so before and after school, so I supervised the after school program, and I had all these little high schoolers that would come and help with the elementary schoolers at the elementary school, and we, they do the arts and crafts, and I'd oversee. It was kind of like a Boys and Girls Club type thing, but on the elementary school campus. Right. And a cute, sweet 18-year-old staff, she said, in the middle of the year, she said, you guys are the first Black family I've ever met or seen in real life. Wow. She's like, ever. I've never, ever, ever seen a Black family in real life. And I thought, first of all, how awesome it is for her to have met us. What a great teaching opportunity. So it goes along with this is heavy, dang. So if we mess up, then she's like, dang, Black families suck. I knew this one. Right. Hope we don't screw up, right? Oh my goodness. Wow. Also, I was like, what a great opportunity. And how grateful I was for her to be feel comfortable enough with me to disclose that. Right. Yeah. And it was just such a great relationship and such a great connection. So through the exposure, we make the change, the conversations, right? Absolutely. Yeah. We have to, and it's one of those things, So I wanted to ask you about,
I'm excited to, I haven't read it yet, but I want to read your book. I was looking at The Emerging Healer, adding
Mm-hmm.
insight and impact to your mental health work. And it struck me, I was like, I, th- I think everybody should probably read that, especially if you're in a
Yes.
position of management or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or you're dealing with people, right? I mean, that's a layer.
Yes. The book, although I thought about changing the title, the subtitle at least, because it gives the impression that it is just for mental health workers, but there's a level, what it is for people who have insight or who are seeking insight to
Mm,
go a little deeper, right?
yeah.
Because what I do is I teach people how I'm very transparent about my story. So I use a narrative approach. So I
Okay.
transparently share my story,
Got it.
interwoven with clinical insight,
Hmm.
interwoven with kind of tools that people can use to get better connected to other people. So each chapter
Okay.
has a blend of my personal story, how my personal story impacted me professionally, and then here are some tips and tools that you can use to apply in everyday life.
Love it.
And then it ends with questions. So like there are bullet points that are for like, if you are a therapist, do this. Because so many therapists would say, I went to school and I got out of school and then I sat with a person who came to me for their support and their healing and I had no idea what to do. Because all that theory and textbook and reading doesn't prepare you for someone who comes to you with heavy pain and is like, help me.
Yeah. Right.
So I give really concrete tools. And then there's also a processing question for anyone. Like, for example, one of the chapters is called What's in a Name? So I talk about where my name came from and just kind of tell the story about my name and my feelings about my name coming up, right? And so I talk about the fact that I really didn't like my name. I thought it was something, it was so different and I thought it was, I don't know, stereotypical. And then it was spelled all different and I always had to explain how it was spelled. And it was just frustrating. And then I include an article by Aisha Curry,
Okay.
where she was talking about her name as well and how she, her parents, her father loved the song "Isn't She Lovely" by Stevie Wonder, and the daughter's name is Aisha that he was singing about. So she talked about where her name came from and how she learned to appreciate it. And then, so I also tell people that when you ask a person, where did their name come from? You're asking about them. And so I go into the power of words. When you speak over a person, the significance of their name is spoken over them every time you say their name.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Then also, even if a person doesn't know where their story came from, that's telling of their identity. Like, where did your name come from?
My name, Heather, comes from my mom and dad. They wanted to name me Sean or Heidi. Started out there. And then I believe there's some Scottish and Irish in my family. And so Heather came from that. So, yeah.
So what I hear from that is every time they spoke Heather, they spoke heritage and they spoke love.
Yeah.
Because they were so intentional about picking your name that they mulled over several names, which means that they really cared significantly about you.
Yeah.
Then they wanted to give you something that was indicative of the heritage of your family lineage. So every time they spoke your name, they spoke those things over you. And I'd imagine that you carried that love and that heritage with you throughout your lifetime.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I've never heard that, but yes, I love it. Yeah.
So there's power in that. So now, if you're a therapist and you're fresh out of grad school and you have no idea what to say, and you're sitting there and you're stuck, like literally stuck on stupid, like, what do I say to this person? Ask them, hey, so where did your name come from?
Interesting.
Just that conversation can ease into, like, if they say, I don't know, or I was getting whatever, wherever it goes, you can follow their lead. And guide that session based upon just that question.
Right. And that tells you a lot about their family, their parents, how they feel about their parents, how they, like.
Even if they say, I was born in the system, I don't know, I never knew my parents.
Right.
Wow. Okay, tell me more. Or, I was named after my father and he's in jail and I struggle with it. Whatever it is, it's so telling.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I love that. Because that's, being, when you're working and you're a manager or you're, any of that stuff. It's like sometimes you're like, how do I start a conversation with somebody I don't know, trying to get to know them and get to know me? And yeah, I can't wait to read this. I'm so excited. It's like, yeah, that's super cool. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I could probably talk to you for another hour or 2 or 4 or 16. But maybe I'll take us into our last question. How about that?
Okay.
With this, hang on a second, with the sign going on. Okay, now we're all right. Okay.
It stopped really quickly.
I know. I was like, what's up? I started doing these on the weekends because of the rat-a-tat-tat of the guys out here during the week who are doing the LA sewer redo. So, you know.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you're like, I'm like, okay, this is not going to work. So. But anyway, you have so many things that I would probably consider that fall into this. But I've always interested with people about moments and sparks, moments in one's life that change us, and I'm wondering if you'd share with our listeners if you can pick one or maybe a couple person, place, thing, book, quote that really seat you and who you are in this moment and today.
Oh, this moment today. Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Gosh, wow, that's pretty powerful. Okay, so one more time. What was the question? One more time, because I want to. My brain went everywhere. I'm like, I could answer it so many different ways.
Right. Yeah, it's moments, sparks, and it's people. It's a book. It's the answers are all over the place all the time. Like just something that you would say, you know what, that moment, that thing, that really kind of, when I sit and think about sort of today, where things are in the world with me, all of that, something that either changed you or sparked something in the way you think.
What I would say, honestly, I'm going to use a very funny story that seems so surfacey, but it's going to kind of tie into more depth, okay?
Sure.
So, lately, when I was growing up, I've always had kind of thick hair, or, not super long, but thick, kind of bouncy hair for me. Yep. And it's been something that I love. Yep. Now, as I got older, over the last couple of years, my hair started thinning, and I wear like braids a lot, and it started thinning, and I had resigned to the fact that maybe, it's hereditary, I'm getting older, it's hormones, it's genetics, I just have to accept it. However, over the past 6 months, I've been intentionally pouring love and light into myself, mind, body, and soul, including my hair, the products, the way I talk to my hair and my body, the way I talk to myself, the way I nurture that area of myself. And today I left the salon and she's like, your hair is back to where it was. It's actually thicker. My stylist is like, it's thicker. The curl pattern is healthier than it was before. And it started, she's like, I'm really loving the way and I said, wow, what you feed will grow. Like, no matter what, don't let if you nurture something, it will grow. And so what I got today was, if I nurture something in my soul, it will grow. And God is a restorer for me. Spiritually, God is a restorer. So there is restoration possible in anything that looks dead. So it just resonated with me. Like, my husband and I, when we were a young couple, I bought a home. And in the housing crisis, we lost that home. And it was devastating to me. But what I got in the message from my hair being restored was that home ownership and property management can be restored, that investment can be restored, that relationships can be restored. Yeah. Nothing that appears dead is gone. There's always that hope for restoration if I desire that and I pour into it. So I know that may sound silly, but it was a profound message for me in this season of restoration in every single area.
Yeah, I love that. Yes, right? I mean, it was
restoration is possible.
Yeah, restoration and feeding your soul and the power of positive thinking and words and intention, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and hair is a big deal. Let's be real.
I just was not willing to accept the fact that, oh, this is just something I need to resign to.
Right.
This is something I just need to accept.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, there are going to be areas where there's some acceptance needs to come, but that was not something I was willing to accept. I wanted to see if there was a way for me to change it.
Yeah.
And I think that for ourselves and our lives, knowing that one of the things that I love to live by is you can heal. Yeah. So I'd love to have people know that if you're in a season that is hurting or difficult financially, physically, emotionally, interpersonally, in medically, you can heal. I believe that we can all heal. I just released, there's a I'll send it to you, this the 5-step blueprint to healing.
Okay, cool.
And it gives like a 5-step blueprint. I write out a 5-step blueprint to what it looks like to heal, because I believe that everybody can heal. It will take work, but everybody can heal.
That's, I can't wait to see that. That's awesome. I'm with you. I say yes. Yes. It's so good. Oh, well, I'm going to put the Emerging Healer, a link there, and your website is Chevonna.com. Chevonna.com. We'll put that in there.
Yes, and see, so I didn't like the name, and then at the end I realized with this unique name and unique spelling, I get Chevonna.com.
Exactly. Right?
So I mean, who gets their name as their website? Like, thank you. So I have to thank my mom. She named me. And the funny, and I mentioned that in the story, that I learned to love it and appreciate the uniqueness of it, and it has been advantageous for me professionally. However, although there is so much depth, so much vulnerability, so many life lessons, and so much power in my book, and I share pieces of my mom's story and my father's story and just all of that. And the book is really powerful and engaging and entertaining and in depth. And my mom read the whole story, and at the end she says, so you don't like your name? Oh. Like, that's the only thing you got in my book.
Nope. Nothing like our moms to give us what. Yeah. One thing.
That one thing.
That would be my mom too. Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh, well, you are so wonderful. Thank you for what you do in the world for so many. I know because I know you, and I know of you through lots of friends, and I know how much you reach out and touch people and change people's lives. So thank you for what you do. Really.
Thank you for having me so much and for giving me this platform. And I can't wait to see you face to face and give you a big old squeeze.
I know. I'm like, yes, please, sometime soon for sure. So, okay. Well, thank you so much again. I really
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody. That has been another episode of the Mavens Do It Better podcast. And here is to another big, beautiful day on this blue spinning sphere. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.